Okay, welcome back to another Between the Pages book chat. And today our guest is author James Quinlan Meservy, and we're here to talk about his book, The United, which is book one of the Realm of Light series. And I'm going to turn it over to him now and let him introduce himself. So take it away.
Uh, Morning. James. I'm James Quinlan Meservy. Just as a heads up, I feel fine. Just back in August of 2020, I or 2022, I had a concussion in a car accident, and one of my lingering symptoms is brain fog and my stutter. So if I'm taking deep breaths to pause, it's just because I'm nervous. I've been I'm write the Realm of the Light series and a handful of other things as well, mostly fantasy, but have a couple I've worked in a couple other genres as well.
Okay, and don't be nervous. We're very informal here. You can take your time, since no rush, no hurry. So, tell everybody about the book. What can we expect when we read it?
So the United is about T.J. Parkinson and an encounter with a being that he thought was a legend, but turns out to be true, and how that encounter changed his life. Young adult, a young adult sword and sorcery fantasy story. Kind of. Um, I don't know what really to expect other than just a story that I greatly enjoyed.
So, I mean, I would say from what I read on the blurb that it's a basic epic fantasy. You've got swords, you've got creatures. But the one thing I was wondering was because you've got fantasy names, well, with sort of more regular human names. So, does it take place in our world and the fantasy world, or does it take place in its own sort of little fantasy world?
So the realm of the light is a parallel verse to our realm of Terra, and I was chosen by the current Sir Urimque to share what happened on their world with our world. Um, and parts of the story take place on the realm of the light. Parts of the story take place in the realm of Rye, or in other words, the afterlife. One of the things to expect out of the United is my use of angels and demons. My creatures of Rye are demons that are shifters,
Oh, that's
with
interesting.
other enhanced magical abilities. And a big part of what goes on in the United is how the angels and demons interact with the mortal realms.
That's interesting. So I like the idea of demons being shifters. So basically, you wouldn't be able to tell they were demons until they revealed themselves?
Yeah.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about the main characters.
Uh, so TJ Parkinson is just a mm, average kid, grew up middle class, um, and just a normal guy having just a normal teenager, likes to spend time with his friends, likes to spend time with his family, enjoys camping and things. The only really in special thing about TJ, at least to start off with, is that he ended up uh, he's dating Leanne, a childhood friend that just has always been just always been his best friend, and just beautiful girl and wonderful person for him to be around, and just Leanne's just a regular everyday girl. So far as I, Blaze Byron, just guys have to go to school, like to play video games, like to spend time outdoors. Just people.
Yeah, just regular young people thrust into a whole different fantasy stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, so that sounds like a lot of fun. So, what inspired you to write the books?
When I was in fifth grade, I was giving a creative writing assignment for a Halloween theme, and I came up with this story about a wolf that stole the souls of children. And um, then again in seventh grade, I was asked to do another creative writing assignment and did a part two of what I had originally done in fifth grade. And then in 10th grade, I was given another Halloween themed creative writing assignment and decided to do a part three. And part one, part two, part three of the Dark Fang short stories is what became the original basis for Year the First, Year the Second, and Year the Last of the United. Um, and I decided after high school I was done writing. I didn't want to have anything to do with creative writing, but the stories wouldn't leave me alone, and the characters wouldn't leave me alone until I turned the story into a novel. So so really just a creative writing assignment that never left me.
Cool. So, what kind of a villain or an antagonist are our heroes up against?
A demon that has pretty much the sole purpose of killing TJ and his entire family line.
Okay, we will assume that the reason behind that are spoilers of the book, so I won't ask you why. People.
Larger parts of the larger world. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what was the hardest scene or type of scene that you wrote in the book?
Well, for me, the hardest thing was writing a novel. I started out, as I said, I started out with it just being a couple of short stories, but the stories just never, the stories, the scenes, the characters just never left me alone. And so overall, the hardest part was trying to figure out how to write a compelling novel. My wife and a couple of trusted friends can attest that my very first attempt at turning it into a novel was one of the most painful pieces of garbage that ever happened. Um, and then and then I started doing some studying. I read a couple of non-fiction books about how to write. I read several young adult fantasy, read a couple of other speculative fiction stories, and just trying to learn how these successful stories were written. Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potter series, um, was in what was Harry Potter was actively being released at the time. I think I started somewhere around the release of book four, and actually came across the ideas that I liked somewhere around the release of book six. And they were at the time the most popular young adult fantasy, so that was a very good place for me to start. Um, and just there wasn't any one specific scene, any one specific thing. It was just overall trying to figure out how to create lasting characters that I liked, and a continuous plot that stayed together, because I took a lot of struggles on it. Normally, normally most authors just throw away the old projects and start working on new. And I tried that about 4 different times, and TJ and his friends just wouldn't leave me alone.
Yeah, that we all have books like that. So it's nice that you stuck with it though. So what was your favorite scene or type of scene that you wrote in the book? What's your favorite part about it?
So my favorite scene is right near the end of the book. Um, just a couple chapters, just a couple chapters away from the end, when the magical battle axe Boy Bresh takes on the main character for the scene, and we learn about Boy Bresh and why Boy Bresh was invested in taking in TJ and Blaze in TJ and Blaze and wanting to help destroy Jacob Hunter. And the reason that was my favorite is because up until that point, I was thinking this is just going to be a one book series. We're just going to do the one book. This is going to be awesome. And then as I was getting near the end, I was like, you know what? I wonder what makes this battle axe so special. And then all of a sudden, all the floodgates opened up on entering a wider world than just what was apparent with the United. Opened up the entire series to me.
Yeah, that's the way it happens. I mean, I started out my trilogy started out as a short story, so that's what I set out to write. It ended up as a trilogy. So yeah, I know how that happens. So tell us little bit about some of the secondary characters. Are there any of them that kind of creep up and steal the show from the main characters?
Uh, Amanda Adams is my favorite character that I've written to date. Um, and several people have told me that Amanda is their favorite character introduced in the United. Period. Um, yeah, gets introduced. She gets introduced just right near the end of the first part and is very important. It just becomes a very important friend for everyone else after that. After she meets these people, what really endeared Amanda to me was that she saw how much Leanne and Blaze and TJ love each other, how close they are together as friends. Even though they're not family, they're friends, but they're close best friends. And she wanted that type of relationship and started changing some things about herself to find friends like that. And TJ, of course, TJ, Leanne, and Blaze became those friends for her. As side character for the United, but a very small side character for the United, but a major role player in the series as a whole is Arcturus Hunter, a denizen, a demigod, a child between. He's the offspring of a demon and a mortal, and he has a very small part to play in the United, but um, turns out being one of the pivotal people of the series from then on. Uh,
Sounds like it.
um, for me personally, so I love literature. I especially love classic literature, and one of my absolute favorite books is Les Miserables, and one of my absolute favorite characters of all time, my biggest literary crush is Eponine Thénardier from Les Mis, and I absolutely love so much about Eponine. And as I was creating the United, and as I was going through character interviews, and I was meeting other people, um, the character of Amaranth Hunter, Arcturus's twin sister, that is only in the United for about 5 seconds, just really struck me, and I based a lot of her on Eponine. When you look at when you look at um, the Viscount of Sternboard, a Realm of the Light novella, you really see Eponine's character traits that I really loved from Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo's character, you really see those character traits show out in Amarith. So even though she's such a minor character, she's only in one scene in the United. Um, she is one that really just really stuck with me.
Oh, that is cool. I've never heard anyone basing a character off a Les Mis before, so that's fun. So what are your characters afraid of?
Like myself, TJ is hydrophobic, and so deep water, large spans of water, um, just he has the same type of reaction that I do. Goes catatonic, goes pale, becomes very difficult to think anytime he's around even small bodies of water. Um, Leanne's a lot of Leanne's personality is based on my wife, and so Leanne's biggest fear is based around not being able to protect her family and her children. Well, child Heather Ann, but not that was one of Leanne's biggest things. Um, Arcturus, um, Arcturus is an odd duck. I have a very difficult time nailing him down for any character interviews at all. But from the best that I can see, for as well as I know him, Arcturus's greatest fear is also his greatest wish, and that's to die.
Well, now that's an interesting little teaser. That is. So, okay, one more question here, and then we'll wrap it up. So, you obviously write fantasy. Are there any other genres that you might like to try in the future?
So, when you look up my website and you look up my works, you'll see a undiscovered title, and undiscovered title is a contemporary science fiction introductory shorts to probably go back to that world later. As I mentioned before, um, I've had a couple severe really slowing down my writing pace. That's really slowing down my pipeline. That's really slowing down my projects. My doctors really want me to limit screen time as much as possible. And so whenever I start getting a headache, whenever I start feeling migraine, I just kind of step away from all projects and rest. And so I don't have any specific timeline right now on any of these things. But the undiscovered title, going back to undiscovered title, was a lot of fun. Kind of more of a psychological thriller, science fiction thriller. Kind of a small little project about how you can change things that happen in the past, or if you can change things that happen in the past. So, undiscovered title is is going to be part of a larger world, a larger series, maybe not a series, at least a book about changing the past, whether or not we're able to change the past. Kind of a psychological thriller, sci-fi project that I'm looking forward to getting back into. Becoming Captain Touret is a post-apocalyptic short story that I did for an anthology that I was in a couple years ago, and I am definitely going back to that world. That was a lot of fun. I'm doing some doing the post-apocalyptic work. My absolute favorite genre that I've worked in so far has been the fantasy thriller Cross of Roses. Cross of Roses was a came about because a friend of mine was like, "Hey James, I think you should try Christian thriller." And I'm like, "Okay, Allie, what's a Christian thriller? Is that like a serial killing priest?" And she just kind of looked at me and like, "Could be if you want it to." And then I ended up writing and now publishing a story about a serial killing priest. And it was just a lot of fun combining the thriller elements with the fantasy elements. And another project that I'm super excited for is also going to be a thriller, um, probably closer to a psychological thriller, a project a project that will kind of like a Frankenstein retelling in a fantasy world.
Sounds cool. Sounds like we have a lot to look
So
forward to.
I have a lot of projects that I'm working on. I just did the process is just going to be very slow for me for the time being.
Understandably. So I'd like to thank you for being our guest today. It was a pleasure chatting with you. And
Thank you.
why don't you tell everyone where they can find you and your books?
So the best place to find me is on my blog, jqmserve.wordpress.com. And as I start feeling better and feel more up to being able to write new projects, that is where I'll be posting all my updates is on my blog.
Okay, great.
You know, you
So,
know, you know, I have feeds all over the place. You go JQM or James Quinlan Meservy, you look for my logo and it'll show up in several different platforms, but they're all linked back to my blog.
okay, great. So, thank you for being the guest, as I said again. And you can find his book, will be linked in the description, as well as his website. So be sure to check it out. And that's all for today's show. And we'll be back with another one soon. Bye for now.